Hey, everybody, how are you doing today? Just kind of rushing around, but so good evening. It's time for another episode of What is the Ask? It's five friends out of Tampa and Atlanta discussing important Black issues that we need to really start talking about and delving into, doing a deep dive in many cases before the November 5th, 2024 election. Y'all, it's 539 days away. It's going to be here before we know it. So, a letter. I wrote a letter to Black people on my Facebook page. I started out with Dear Black people because I feel like we need to have more discussions, real discussions about what's happening. And right now, so here it is. Dear Black people, what's the game plan? Now that Trump and Biden have officially entered the 2024 presidential race, and in a few days, DeSantis will also enter the race, what is our ask? What are the candidates saying to get the Black vote? What are the themes the candidates are creating to, and I'm going to say distract us, because if we're paying attention, we'll understand that a lot of what is being said is to distract us from the issues that are really important to the Black community. So let's look at Trump. Themes: make America great again, again. He's going to release the insurrectionists. He's very big on partisanship. He believes, I think he said the other day, let's default on our debts as a country, build the wall again. And don't forget, he won in 2020. He believes in less regulations, America first, which means leaving NATO. And as far as allies, he's looking at Russia, China, North Korea, and the like as allies for the United States. Biden, on the other hand, as I mentioned, just recently noted that he's also running. His is democracy, democracy, democracy. If you've seen the campaign ad, if you haven't, I really encourage you to go see it. And he's attacking it head on. I'm old and I'm wise. He's into bipartisanship, probably more so than he needs to be these days. But some of the things that he's looking at too is student debt, seeing the large number of millennials and young people that certainly went to college and that will be potential voters in this and the next elections. Tax the rich, clean energy, bring the jobs back, infrastructure, more regulations. America as leader of NATO. And allies would include the likes of Ukraine, France, Canada, South Korea, and the like. And then there's DeSantis, who's about to declare, I would say within the next 15 days, given the fact that he's just moved his campaign office, campaign folks out of his office. His theme, what we're starting to hear is, aren't you tired of losing? Here's another big one: never back down. He's very partisan. And what we're going to see a lot, I think, is look at my record. I'm delivering in Florida. That's what he's going to be telling us. And that means I'm delivering book bans and CRT bans and LGBTQ bans, abortion bans. I'm warring with Disney, gerrymandered districts. I'm Trumpier than Trump without the baggage is another theme that we're seeing. He has no experience on the world stage. We saw that in his recent trip across the big pond. And he wants to shore up Florida, or use Florida as a model for what can happen in other states. So our question tonight, panel, with the upcoming 2024 presidential race, with candidates like Trump, Biden, and DeSantis, it's important for Black voters to understand the issues at stake. How can we shift the focus from the personalities of the candidates to the issues that support the advancement of Black people? what are the key themes being created by the candidates, and what is our ask as Black voters to ensure our collective interests are represented? What say you, Albert?
Hello, Jeanette. Hello, Alton. I'm here
Hey,
to ask the same question. What do black people want?
Yes.
Um, my wife is at a company now where some women have sued that company because the women were hired at a lower pay for the same work as the white men. And so the company now is reorienting themselves and upping the salary of the women to level out. And to me, that's the same thing that black folk want in America. Right
What's
now,
that?
we are economically three-fifths of a white family. We
Wait a
still
minute.
make
You're saying, I mean, you're using the three-fifths clause in 2023 when
the
it comes to black.
three-fifths clause is still
still.
valuable because it still
Oh,
exists.
Hmm.
okay.
When you look at black folks economically in America, we earn 60 cents for every dollar that a white person earns. Now, if
Okay.
you get into the wealth, it's even worse than that.
Yeah.
We are like 5 cents for every dollar of wealth, which are two different things. You getting your salary every week
Okay.
is your three-fifths of a human being. You
Okay.
actually owning something and actually having some value in America, you're a little bit of nothing. You pennies on
Right.
the dollar.
And that's an
Okay?
important distinction to make and be real clear to black folks that wealth and income are two different things.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but we've been trained that way. Every since I can remember, go to school and do what? Get a good job.
Doing a good job.
Okay? Go to school and get a good job, and all that meant is you actually got a good job, you actually did a good day's work, but they just didn't pay you. You
Yeah.
know, it was a non-verbal communications. Um, the one reason for that suit is somebody actually heard them say, "Well, we can't pay the women as much as the men because the men have to take care of their families."
Ooh.
Oh,
Okay,
whoa, whoa,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
oh.
Wait a
Still,
minute.
See,
we
Wait,
still
wait,
now,
wait,
talking. We still
wait.
talking that crap
Okay. That was true, I guess,
in the 50s.
as we went from the agrarian sort of farm to industrialization, and man made more because he was taking care of the family. Are you telling me that is still true today?
I'm talking 2022. I'm not talking about a decade ago or a
Mm-hmm.
century ago.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's kind of like people say, okay, we made a lot of progress. We went from horse and buggy to cars. No, we didn't.
Right.
We still kept on inventing vehicles that get
Uh-huh.
us from point A to point
Uh-huh.
B. So the overall scope of the concept is still in place.
Okay.
Black folks earn 60%. Women get less than men because men are still considered the breadwinners of the family. Okay, and
Okay.
when I say men, I mean, let me put a caveat. Black men were never included in men. Okay, they were talking about white men when they talked about that.
Yeah.
Let's be clear about that.
Let's be real clear.
Married white men.
Yeah, yeah, married white men, and we had, like I said, one of the suits is one guy started with no experience, lousy resume, but he made more money than a young lady who had all the certifications and had
Mm-hmm.
years of experience. So
Yep.
I'm saying to you, if you want to know what black folk want in 2024, we want to level up the pay. That's one start, and then we can
Level.
start talking about leveling up the wealth.
Okay. Level up the pay.
Level up the pay.
Hmm. And I know you were talking about, what occurred in your wife's work with regard to equal pay, but even amongst white women and everybody else, that let's not look at the black male. She's making more than you and me. She's making more.
Who is?
White women.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, they are part and parcel of that complete package that comes with white man, white
Yeah.
woman.
Because they produce white babies.
That's right. That's right. Which helps to
Oh,
continue the process.
Continue the process and the
Yeah.
oh,
population. Yeah, it's all a, it's an underlying 30 years ago when I was in the Florida Public Service Commission, they promoted me to a supervisor job. And I was the first black to hold it, which I could care less about. But the reason, and I played the politics because I was engaged at the time,
Right.
and I purposefully put in my boss's ear, oh, by the way, I'm getting married. And I just left it like that. And he got the hint. Because the rule was a man who engages in that contract is a man you invest in. Not white man rule, of course.
Oh my God.
But that's the rule.
I
That
know,
is the rule.
but as
That
I
is the
hear
rule.
you, it is the rule. And
It is
as
the
I hear
rule.
you talk about this, and we won't like beat this to death, but
Right.
if I would, black woman, whispered in my boss's ear, I'm getting married, he's thinking now, I'm not going to have the time,
Right.
babies,
Right.
whatever else. And that's going to be a
Right.
real inconvenience for him.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm not going to get the same considerations that perhaps
you're not.
you, even as a black man, are getting.
And I would
Crazy.
agree with you. But I knew the politics and I knew who I was dealing with. Every male above me was that white male from that era.
Yeah, yeah.
So, right down to the suspenders. Yeah, I'm getting married.
Mhm.
You got that's
That's
part of
the
the
name-
game
that's
that you
part of the
learn.
game.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
part of the game you learn, and that's why I said in 2024, money, salaries.
2024 money,
Yeah.
salary, dollars. I got that. I got
Yeah,
that. I think that is.
that's got to be a black folk issue.
Yeah. And to me, that has to be a black folk issue. That has to be the black folk issue. Because, the clouds are saying, well, they always say the economy is the issue, but definitely 2024 because
Okay.
of what I see in terms of a structural shift in how people are employed. We've already seen that shift. COVID exposed it. So if you're getting rid of certain labor, and people in the audience who the college degreed, we thought that automation was coming after
Yeah.
line labor first. No,
Uh-huh.
it's coming after this alleged knowledge economy labor.
Oh,
And when you
please,
think
yes.
about it, then you should realize that all this time you thought you were being told that you're in the knowledge economy. You're not. You are a part of it, maybe to the extent that you are a serf in that economy because you don't control that infrastructure. You don't control the databases. They've been hiring you to teach the computer. They've been hiring you to mine data. But as long as, right now I'm doing 2 projects where even we as attorneys are teaching the machines. So everyone's teaching these machines. And if you're in the thought business, you're teaching yourself in some cases out of a job down the road. So that's what I mean in part by the structural change that we're going to have to get ready for. And so that goes to Albert's point as to, well, definitely in the immediate term, that dollar becomes even more important.
Right,
And
right.
how we secure ourselves in this shifting economy, because it's shifting very quick.
It is.
And we're not paying attention.
The federal
We're not-
government right now is holding back on the interest rates increase. In fact, they're manipulating the marketplace. They're getting sophisticated with their language. The marketplace, if you let the marketplace work on its own right now, we would be in a recession, if not a depression.
Yes,
Right.
those
And
rates
guess
would
what?
be so
The
high.
reason why is that a lot of people had jobs.
Correct.
And they said that was causing people to spend money, which was causing prices to go up, which was causing a recession. So they began to slow the market down. And,
Right.
and see, that's why I said, on the one hand, they'll tell you to lie. Capitalism is about free markets and let the marketplace tell you what to do.
Lies.
No.
No.
Nice.
They constantly jack things around, move pieces around,
Right.
which then sends like dropping a pebble in a water pond. It creates a ripple that goes out and tears down things, creates new things, and that's what they're doing right now with the interest
Right.
rates.
Well, the free market, that whole free market fallacy has never really
No,
been in play here.
there's
ever.
no such thing. And,
No,
There
and,
is
and,
no
and,
such
no.
thing. Exactly.
and it's
Exactly.
become, if there was any freedom, it's become less so over the past 110 years with a
Yes.
central bank going to Albert's point that, yes, not, yes, they don't, I won't even say they manipulate or influence the race anymore. They just doggone go right down there and knock them down.
Right.
That's what they're doing. And then this is the first Fed chairman who's been brutally honest about what he wants to do to labor. What he feels needs to happen
Right.
to labor. And he's told when he sits in front of Congress, he tells them, yeah, the unemployment rate has to go up. And he's
Right.
cool as shit
Right.
because he
Well,
knows that's what under the rules of how they measure economy,
yeah.
under those rules, that has to happen because you got an economy that's 70% consumption based. So
Hmm.
if you want to reduce the increase in allegedly reduce the increase in inflation, which that would, and the reduction that they're offering, the plan that they're offering is a lie because it has nothing to do with reducing how much you spend. It
Yeah.
really has to do with reducing how many dollars are out there. But they
Yeah.
don't want
How
to
many
say that.
people are working?
They don't
Yeah.
want to say that.
Well, they don't want to say that, but they are indicating that
Yeah.
the unemployment rate needs to rise. It can't keep going down or be
Right.
stagnated around, what is it,
Right.
3.5 or so.
3.5 now, I think. Yeah.
So
So,
what happens if all of us get unemployed? What happens to the economy if it continues to go up, but we don't have money? What happens? That's the point that nobody's discussing.
Right.
uh,
Right. Yeah. The people in the middle are not going to have money. Scarier still are the people in the middle who don't understand that they're in the middle. Because when I go drive down these streets here in Atlanta, and I'm seeing our white cousins just out drinking. As a matter of fact, I'm seeing lesser of them now. They're probably
Mm,
getting the hint. Because you see them,
mm.
these overflowing. I was out with a friend yesterday, and there's this restaurant, Beano something, I forget.
mhm.
But anyway, it's always packed. Always, always, always packed. Not yesterday. I'm like, are we feeling it? Because I think what's happening is they've been spending the credit money for so long.
Mhm.
And now they're watching with these rates going up, they're watching their home values, the homes that they use for collateral and margin falling. And these banks are telling them, hey, you need to come up with some more margin or else we're going to make a call. So they're under pressure because they've been spending the money backed by their assets, but their assets are falling in value. So now it's like, how are we going to pay this off? One.
Right, right.
Two, let's not run this card up anymore. Three, for some of us, it's too late. We've already run it up.
Yeah,
So
do
that's
you
what,
think, yeah, but do you think the folks are smarter, and I'm saying smarter, so the feds have to be a little bit more honest because we can Google that stuff.
yeah, yeah. No,
24 and it's 24/7 news cycles that we're going to pick up on that, get nervous and start pulling back
well,
like you're saying. But
yeah.
do you think the honesty is coming because we are a lot smarter and we have access to the data?
No, unless you're reading Law and Politics of AltonJew.com, where I talk about this stuff. I had to get a plug in. I had to get the plug in.
You got
And
that
I'm
in.
serious. I had to get the plug in.
You
But
got it.
but the answer is, I believe the answer is no.
Okay.
And I say it's no. Um, a couple of reasons. One, if you spend time with it, it is not so sophisticated that it goes over your head. Okay, so this is not to say people are stupid. People are not putting in the amount of time it takes to really understand how this works. And worse than that, they don't want to put the time in to understand how it works. They assume, I had this one young lady on Facebook tell me, well, I understand the economy because I took economics in college. If you took economics in college, you do not understand the
Right.
economy.
so
You do
so
not understand it.
and let me
So,
come
Really?
yeah.
let me come from a different angle. And this angle works. This is the marketing side. Okay. I can make you addicted to spending by throwing commercials at you 24 hours a day about stuff that you don't even know that you wanted until the commercial came on and ran several times.
Yeah, that's how it
And
always works.
no, that's not how it always works that
Yes,
you're
it does.
conscious of. Okay, that's not how, because people will tell you, commercials don't mean anything. They don't dictate or they don't drive. And
Yeah,
what I'm
but when
saying to
when
you,
I was a kid and Fruity Pebbles came on that TV, suddenly Fruity Pebbles was in the grocery cart.
Yeah.
Next time we went
okay,
shopping.
so now here, let me take it to the next level. So now you know that. Now let me see you stop buying Fruity Pebbles, and you're gonna have what they call withdrawals. See, it's just like sugar, it's just like caffeine, it's
Hmm.
just like Coca-Cola, it's just like coffee, all of that. Stop. I tell you what. What do you drink first thing in the morning, Jeanette?
Actually, I drink water, but I would say tea. I
Okay.
drink tea.
Now, your mission for 1 week is not to do that. For 1 week, all I'm going to do is 1 week. Now, I'm going to bet in the back of my mind that you ain't going to make 2 days.
I'm going to tell you this already because I ran out of my tea, and it's not tea I can go buy in the store. I have to order the tea. And I was not ordering tea because we had a lot of other tea, but I wanted this one particular tea. It's called Dragonwell. It's got, I don't know what it is, but that's the tea that I drink. I went into withdrawals. I was like, oh my God, I don't have my tea.
now,
Or I had to order, I was off for a couple of weeks, but I got it now and I'm
let
happy.
me let me tell you this: substitute credit cards for your tea, and then you'll know what the problem is in America.
Yeah,
Okay, you'll
it's
know
true.
what the problem is in America and why they don't even have to worry about Americans complaining.
That's true.
See, IBM had a great deal. See, this is what IBM used to do with their salesmen. They would hire those salesmen in, and the salesman will be living a fairly decent life, and then the sales manager will come to the house and say to the wife, "You don't need to live like this. You need to move up to a higher level." And they would consciously push the idea of expanding, getting bigger, getting more. What did that mean? That meant that the
I'm stuck on
salesman
the job.
had to work harder for
I'm stuck on the
IBM to
job.
provide.
Mm.
Yeah, that
And,
that that
and,
is
and
what
that
it
was the old strategy that's now being employed now in America. Credit card debt is going through the ceiling because we have become accustomed
is.
to a particular lifestyle.
Yeah.
What is the famous what is the famous thing when women sue when they get a divorce? They when rich people they want to live in the luxury
Right.
that they have become accustomed instead of saying once I unplug from this power source, then I've got to go and live off my own batteries. But that ain't what
But
they do.
but again, back to that's the American way. That's how they get all of us. They get us addicted to a way of living or a standard of living, even if they're pushing it up. And then I can't quit this job and I can't be open and free with what I say. I am now a slave, if you will, to the
And
market,
iron,
to the
well,
marketplace.
I'm glad you use that word market because the irony is that, in my opinion, in my observation, well, George W. Bush put it best right after 9/11. He got on the bullhorn and he said, I want you to go to work and I want you to spend. Because that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Because if this government has gone from a mercantilist system that it had in the late 1700s into a into now a credit capitalist type system, and it has a currency that has to be validated. In other words, when you see that dollar, you have to trust it can get you something. And the government needs you to trust that dollar so that you can use that dollar to pay them taxes. So the only way that you're going to be able to trust that dollar is if you get up and you go on the street and you see hustle and bustle. You see an economy that's moving. You see that person that Albert talked about going from the small house to the bigger house, and the
Mhm.
husband going into the boss's office saying, keep those hours coming, and by the way, can I get paid more? So I can keep that dollar circulating. Because without that dollar turning over and turning over, and without people feeling comfortable and faithful in that dollar that it will provide them what they
That is
want,
true. Yeah.
this government and then the state that lays behind it becomes invalid.
And let me
So
let me
they,
tie
they,
Powerful.
something else in.
Very
And
powerful.
did you see how casual Jeanette said, "Oh, but that's just the way it is in America." So now we're gonna tie it in. That's
Well,
the
don't
same
just
attitude.
just don't call me suckers this week,
No,
okay?
I'm not gonna call you a sucker.
he did it.
No, what I'm saying is you made it sound so normal, and that's why
That
you
is
have more of the rich and powerful paying their way up the ladder because we are now becoming accustomed to them paying because they have all the money. And
yeah,
therefore, when they buy a politician, when they rig laws so that it benefits them the best, we all are saying what you just said. Well, that's just the American. That's just the American way. Oh, that's just the way it's done, as opposed to being appalled to it. And so in
Mm,
2024, it will be more difficult for us as black folks who are already losing our jobs, who are already 60% of what white folk are, to really get up and complain about stuff. So that's even going to make us more docile and more pathetic as sheep being
mm,
herded into a particular position.
right. So,
mm.
so how is leveling up the pay one of the goals that we should be asking for? One of the things we should be asking for, and if so, how do we make that a theme of our own? That not that we're adopting these themes that these politicians are bringing to the table, but how do we figure out this is what Black people need to be rallying around? Leveling up the play does not seem to be, given our discussion, um, realistic.
See what? See, she's back to, well, that's just the way it is. You're
I know
back
I
to
am.
just the
I,
way
I,
it
I
back.
know
That's
that
just
I
the way it
am.
is.
I hate that I am being this way, but I want to be able to give our viewers or our listeners something that they can say, yeah, we can do that.
In Tampa, then, let me give you a point. In Tampa, when I lived there a couple of years back, they had this group of people that would go stand out in front of McDonald's and Walmart and all that, asking for $15 an hour.
Yeah, fight for 15.
And they fought for that, and then they kept fighting for it, and ultimately, that kind of money was attainable. And so it has to be a consistent effort to me on our part to say this is what we need to have happen in today's environment, knowing that some people are going to get fired for saying that. There's got to be a group of us willing to stand up and say, you got to start paying level, you got to level out the pay so black folks can also be a part of this economy. I think. Anyway. Some hesitation on your
Yeah,
part.
see,
See that
Ethan,
that
both of
who.
us. Well, come on with it, Alton. What
Oh,
say you to the fight for 15 parallel for Black folks to
yeah,
fight for leveling up the pay?
yeah, yeah. Our pay needs to be increased, and while I have no problem with people getting in front of these establishments and saying, yo, we need more money, because that's logical, we need something else beyond that that feeds or supplements our income. And I think that, yeah, ask for the money, but expect any positive impact to be very temporary. Because when capital sees labor gaining, capital figures out a way to reduce labor and increase its gain. That
Recession.
all, yeah, I mean, yeah, and hold that thought about recession, because people make it a very bad word, and it is a bad word, but to people with assets, it's not a bad word.
Right.
Now, so pay is very short term. What has to be provided is ownership of the actual institutions and nodes within this system, but owned by us and paying us. What does that mean?
Yeah, what does
Yeah,
that mean?
yeah. The heart of this economy is your banking system,
Hmm.
your bondholders. First of all, we got to define what wealth is.
Are we talking about income or are we talking about wealth? Which one?
Income is necessary but short term.
Okay,
Wealth gets you from wealth gets
creation.
you yeah wealth creation gets you gives you something not only hand down to your kids but creates a moat such that you get up and you do the true adulting. You don't have to do a damn thing, but get up, go to your favorite place, have breakfast, and then go down to your congressman and go ahead and influence him, all in a day's work. See, wealth is bondage that you're willing to place the other guy in. That's the hard cold fact. What is wealth? A whole bunch of people living off of their coupon payments from their bonds.
All right, do we?
But okay, but yeah.
No.
Oh,
Finish.
yeah. What sustains yes, so those bonds, if you will, just those securities, the purchase of them, the maintenance of them, what have you, that's the wealth in the long term. Yeah, in the long term that blacks have to chase. We've heard this over and over again. It's nothing new. But the problem is going to your income versus wealth question is a lot of the focus gets put on the politicians, especially your Democrats. Oh, income inequality, income inequality. And if you listen to them, it's like, well, of course, incomes are not quote unquote equal. If you own and manage a McDonald's, you're not going to be paid the same as the guy who's running the cash register. Now you're getting your money on the back end, but you're getting your money in profit. That's the difference. So income will never be equal. You could be the owner and pay yourself a small 20 grand a year salary just to have someone on the books as a manager, but you're taking home $150,000 at the end of the year because that's coming out of profit. So that's what that's so when I listen to these guys talk, I'm like, they do not understand wealth and they do not understand an economy. So for blacks, that's where we have to go if we want to move collectively, and that's another issue, probably for another show.
Okay.
But long story short, if you want to move collectively, you have to have those resources that you're willing to build on, build institutions on, build banks on, so that you can use the income that you garner from those assets, put them into your bank, and I'm using that loosely with small b, put that into your bank, and then have that bank go out there and reinvest that money. And then you've got some system in place where you're distributing that residual income. But that's where blacks need to be 25 years from now. If we want, because I say 25 years because one, it has to happen very soon because this is an existential threat. If you don't have that type of machine working, because we've been hearing for 40 years, oh, the dollar gets flipped around not enough times in the community, blah, blah, blah. Well, the only way the dollar gets flipped around in your community is not just by what you spend at a McDonald's owned by a black franchisee. It also gets spun around by the assets that are built in that community and the residuals and having them reinvested. That has to happen. And
Yeah.
right now, we when it comes to the banking system, yeah, we got 19, 20 black banks that JP Morgan Chase has a little locker room where they can put all them banks money in. That's how small they are.
Right.
So it's like, oh yeah, here's your little lockbox. Yeah, that's
Right.
you guys
Right.
20 here, no problem. Put it all in here. And I added note, if reparations were to happen, right? That's exactly what's going to happen. JP Morgan's going to say, oh, congratulations, Mona, Jeanette, Albert, Ken, guys, you did it. That's great. You got the money. How much did you all get? Oh, Dr. Darity said 14 trillion. We're the only one on the planet that can handle 14 trillion. Just bring it over here. We'll take care of you because they control the infrastructure. So again, you got to get a piece of that infrastructure, and that's what we have to do. But we're not hearing it unless you come to lawandpolitics of altonjew.com and start reading it there.
So
Did
do
you
we
drop?
need
Did you drop?
I had to drop one in like a DJ.
Okay. I'm
So
gonna have
are
to
we-
let you
are-
say that slower later
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you actually get it.
Oh,
have
Okay.
have Cindy type that into the computer so we'll know where that is right there.
Yes.
Now the other part is, are we ready to demand as a bloc anything from any of these political parties that are running for office? Are we ready to do that? That in 2024, are we ready finally to demand, since the Black Caucus won't do it, they're going to sit there and follow the Democrats all the way to hell. In fact, they've even watered down their position to the point where they won't let Republicans into the Black Caucus. So the question is, are we ready to say to the Black Caucus, to anybody else who stands in our way, look, if you're not willing to stand behind us, here are the things we want. Are we at that point in our game?
No, we're
No,
not.
Okay, so
no.
then I guess we're left to do what we did in 2020. I guess we left to do what we did in 2018. Let's go vote for the same old people that keep saying they gonna do something one day. Oh
You know, and
man.
and you know, I hear you, and I think that is still where we are. We haven't moved from one election cycle to the next because we are, as I kind of indicated early on, we're into the personality of these jokers that are running. Do I like him? Is he too old? Is he too mean? Is he too nice? And if I like him and I feel good, I'm going to vote for. And part of that too is I'm very party loyal,
Right.
rather than figuring out what the issues are and voting for the issues. And as you just said, and I totally agree 100%, voting on the issues, which means voting for the candidate who's going to carry your water. And then we have to make sure that our water makes sense for the times that we're in. And I want to say this with, let's say reparations is on the table and we look at the times that we're in, and we understand the 400 years of educating this country, whether it's formal or informal, that Black folks are at the bottom perpetually, and they don't deserve any of what we are asking for, which bottom line is reparations. Um, the country has to halfway understand that and believe it. And right now, because of the the way we've been educated, most don't agree, and that includes Black folks. That needs to be a goal. So maybe that's not the goal or the discussion for 2024, but there are things that we can rally around that allows us to move the ball forward on the goal, toward the goal, that allows our children to be better positioned for that type of discussion.
For instance, for instance,
In terms of what you just
yeah,
said.
what you just
No, no,
said
no. What?
sounds just, the theory sounds good now. For
Well,
instance,
for instance,
what
what you
can
just
we?
said.
Yeah, well, that's
What?
one thing.
What?
We only talked about gaining better
And wait.
salaries, and we talked
Okay.
about
So if
turning
we're
some things into wealth. And
yeah. So
now,
no, no. I'm not even talking about wealth at this point necessarily,
what are you
because
talking
what
about
I'm
now?
talking about is what you just talked about, and that is income. Let's focus on the income, because the wealth piece is unless we're willing to wait 25, 30 years, the wealth piece is in the whole reparations equation.
Okay,
I, I
you think we're gonna win? Everybody's gonna, all the black folks gonna win one big lottery, and we all gonna march down to Chase and J.P. Morgan
no.
and put our money in it because we so happy that we all got a
Are you
chance to do
talking
that.
income? Because I'm
No,
not talking
we
about,
talking about the reparations.
but
Reparations will give
I'm
you
not
some
even,
wealth.
okay, I'm not even talking reparations at this point. I almost think that because the country is so against it, number one, because that's what we understand. We don't excuse me, because we don't understand the history. And my politician, especially if I'm white, are going to do what they think that I want, especially with these gerrymandered districts and so on and so forth. So we're watching a country be against something, educating themselves about how the country was really formed. That's a discussion, in my opinion, that cannot be at the forefront for such a time as this. It is one that needs to be had but it is not one for today. That's what I think.
Okay, okay. I just heard Tavis Smiley make a good quote. He says, "When they can't win, they change the rules."
Hmm.
And he talked. He was being interviewed about that. And then right behind that, I heard an interview with Dennis Kucinich, who used to be
I
a
remember him.
representative. And he said, he's a Democrat now. Listen very carefully.
I
He said
remember.
the Democrats did not appreciate him voting his conscience, so they gerrymandered
Right.
his
Uh,
district so that they could gerrymander him out of his role.
yeah.
Right.
And so that's why I said, no matter what we do, and no matter how we talk, we got to take into consideration that since they are the ones that create the rules, you can guarantee if they start losing, they're going to change the rules.
Mm.
Okay?
So if that's the game, if that is the game, how do we play?
Okay.
You gotta find
How do we play?
one of those rules that they will never change and learn it.
Yeah. We got to
I
figure out.
agree.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You saw what the Dennis, your soon to be president DeSantis did, didn't you, in Florida? He came in and said, "Okay, look, y'all, I'm going to run for president, but
Yeah.
the rules say I'm supposed to resign, but I'm not willing to resign.
You gotta
If
pay, you
I
gotta
can't
protect that check.
win, yeah." So he got his buddies to pass the law that says now he can run for president while he's still governor.
Correct.
Which
So
is
now
fair.
you think that's
I don't
fair?
think
That's
that's fair.
okay. It's fair.
No.
Well, no, I take that back. It's not fair. It should be expected in the game of political power.
Yeah, but this
So
is what I'm saying to you. If I can't win,
I
I'm just going
change
to
the
change the
rules.
rules. So in a way, okay, here's my challenge to the both of you. It don't make no difference what we come up with. If they start losing at it, they're going to change the rules on us anyway. That was my point for getting to it. So how do we stop them from changing the rules?
I don't think you can stop them
I
from
think
changing the rules.
I agree with
But
Alton. I agree. I don't think we can stop them because, as you said, they have always been changing the rules along the way. As soon as we get progress, you start seeing rules change. They're just more upfront, outward about it. We actually see it, and we under. Before it was kind of hidden, but now we actually see them doing um, cheating, if you will. I'm going to say cheating. So how do we, given today, how do we how do we play in this game where we win? And that to me is the conundrum. That's what
yeah,
I can't seem to
We
figure
yeah,
stop
out.
if we stop supporting Democrats
Mm.
and start supporting ourselves, then we've got a better chance of
But
getting to
what
where
does
we
that mean,
need to.
supporting ourselves exactly? It's
In
for
other
who
words, we shop ourselves. We shop ourselves. You know, everybody. Excuse me. The two most powerful parties want to be in charge, even though they're the same party, and they play that game back and forth. So if we begin to shop the black vote between the two, we can now expect some kind of change, or we could expect some type of gain to happen.
yeah,
You think?
yeah, and and we have to understand how we're positioned in this back and forth between these two parties. Because the way I see them, these are two management companies that bid for a contract to control an institution for 4 years.
Hmm.
So part of the part of the narrative that blacks have to put out there is one, we're not voting for either one of you MFs. But Alton, remember all we've done for you. I don't want to hear that no more. That's old. We're not voting for none of yous. We know that you're taking your PAC money from wherever. We don't care. As a matter of fact, go right ahead. We don't. That's less money out of our pockets. However, there's one thing that your PAC money cannot get that only we have, and that is this vote. Because this is your system. This is your design. We're not doing anything differently. We're not even saying we want to burn it down. We're playing actually by your rules, rules that you cannot change. But if you change them, I think this is where the gamesmanship comes in. If you change these basic rules, you are taking yourself out of existence. It's
Yeah,
like
but
we gotta do a Doctor Strange love thing, and we gotta flesh it out some. But it has to be something where if they take their finger off of the bomb, it all goes to schmuck. And they have to sit there and say, "Oh my God!" They figured out the one rule that we cannot change, and that's the rule that blacks have to play.
so we have to figure that rule out. It's not obvious.
As a matter of fact, it is. But the problem on our part is yes, that having enough concrete where there are enough of us, the naysayers will always be there. No, 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 you're gonna ruin it for me. I'm a bootlegger. I'm gonna get my check. Well,
You're
you're in the
absolutely
minority
right.
now. Too bad. Go away. We
So
we
our
got this.
so our struggle is how do we get the critical mass of that 44 or so million? Where's that
Yes,
critical mass that
mass. So
will be enough to
to hold the finger on that button just long enough. They don't have to stick around for anything else because we're realistic. We're fragmented. But to your point, that critical
but
mass that can keep their
how do
finger.
we get the critical mass that could have that kind of influence to hold their finger on that one little button?
We what's coming overall worldwide and in this country is the strong man leader. He is coming or she is coming. There's no escape. So blacks need that strong man, strong woman leader to get just enough, that Harriet Tubman like type, to get just enough critical mass to say, y'all put your fingers on this button. I'm gonna take out my revolver. I'm gonna take some of you out. Need that kind of strong man to see that, and that's gonna have to be their one sole objective. Yeah, is it gonna be hard? Yes. I'm no leader. I can't do it. I'm an assassin. You call me to do a job. I go in, I do it, and I leave. I don't lead, but I can give you a few tactical tips. But that is what you need. You need that strong man, strong woman leader to create that critical mass. So yes, that critical mass is necessary. But again, they've the critical mass has got to play that rule that no one can avoid, or else.
I can't think of the rule, but yeah, I see your point. I can't
Okay.
think of what that might be. And that we will, with all of our different levels of
Mm-hmm.
slavery, because I'm saying we're attached to our comfort, and
Yeah, pain
I
and
don't want to
suffering
let
is
it
our
go,
comfort.
and I don't want you messing up what I got going over here. There's too much of that within the Black community
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we will that so far we haven't come together really around anything. Um,
And to that point, that's why blacks doing this at the same time, and it has to be at the same time because we have squandered a lot of opportunity over the past 100 plus years.
Absolutely.
So blacks have to create their own, at least in philosophy, their own nation state. And by
Mm,
that I mean, and I look, yeah, you got the nation, which is tough, but the state mentality is we have a philosophy that gives us cohesion, and everything we write and say is an expression of that philosophy, and that's what we're putting out there, and it's constant, constant. We recognize we live in America. We are Americans. We love you, America, but we have a separate philosophy that runs parallel to yours, but we can't afford to have it intersect with yours or commingle anymore because that's what gets us knocked out of the game. But
right.
we're here. We're not a threat. We're
But
not
does
a
that
threat. But
but
you
does
need.
that exist though? But does it exist now, let's say with maybe the Jewish community, somebody who's running parallel to
Yes, ma'am.
American
Yes.
democracy?
You know how
But first of all,
Jewish
we ain't
Jewish
got no
people
democracy.
are. Yeah, they don't run parallel. They run
They run.
America.
Yeah.
Money runs America, and that
Right.
With your
that
turn.
group has
Has
that
the
group
money.
has spent a large sums of money up there in the legal
Right, right.
system to
Yes, but
control what's going on.
Yes, they run it now, or
Yes.
they are one of the co-pilots, but they
Right.
had to run parallel and then insert. They just come over here and say, but they brought over some gold. Don't let them fool you. Oh, we're a minority, Alton. We're just like you. We understand. No, you don't. I
Right.
came to this hemisphere with an empty pocket, bro. You
Right.
brought over gold bars. Come on now.
Right. Now, see, you got now here's a hope. Here's a hope. BET is about to be sold to one or two different black consortiums of
Right.
power. And depending upon which one of those consortiums gets that channel again, it could be a great outlet for us to be able to have cohesive conversations.
Interesting.
At one point, I mean, that was the number one place I went to get the real news. Okay? And
Yeah.
then when Bob, whatever his name is, Johnson sold it,
Johnson, yeah.
it went straight off the end. And now the only thing I'm worried about, Shaq O'Neal and maybe a couple of more people are trying to buy it. And I'm not sure if they have the level of interest in the politics side. I would say Shaq is a smart man in terms of he's made himself be able to walk a tight line between being a buffoon and being a smart man. You see,
Mm-hmm.
and that may translate to him into money as opposed to power.
Mm.
Okay, he and his group. Then you
Right.
got the other guy who owned the weather station, and also the pair,
Byron
the guy,
Allen.
yeah, Byron Allen, and then the guy here. What is
The
it?
the
They're
studios
fighting.
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever
I'm
his
having a
name
blank
is.
too. Medea. I
Yeah,
just want to say
Medea.
Medea.
Yeah,
Oh,
Medea.
Perry.
Yeah,
Yeah, Perry.
and
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
saying that if Medea wanted the BET, and if the guy Allen wanted BET, they should coalesce, go in together, and make it stronger. And I believe the two of them understand enough about how to walk the line of making money and at the same time bringing up some strong black issues.
Okay, I like that. I let's get them on the phone and call them and tell them that needs to happen because the media piece is going to be critical.
Yes, that
That's
is
Yes.
critical.
just as
That
you
is
Yes.
said.
critical. That is critical.
It's going to be critical. And here's yet another opportunity, as you said, all the missed opportunities we've had. Here's yet another opportunity at a time where it's critical that happen. That needs to happen.
Yeah.
And now throw in one more person, and you got a strong team.
Okay.
Roland Martin. Get Roland Martin to be and Roland owns his own company.
Yeah,
And he
Roland
was
said, I've been preparing for this moment.
yeah, right. And he was telling the
Yeah.
story about how he was telling a story about how these political people do black stations and how they knock us out of money. And all he was
They
saying
advertise
they
it.
always wait to the last bit of time
Yep.
and spend pennies with us when they're spending big dollars with the big boys.
Yep.
And he was talking about how he wanted to change all that. And see
Right.
if he came in with his position, juxtapose that with Tyler Perry and the weather guy, I think that would be a strong combination to make BET really a black station for information. Because he carries some great interviews and he has some good people on there, and he knows how to get his message out as well.
Yeah. Um, Tonight, I think that's probably the biggest point, the best point um, that I've heard with regard to how we might coalesce around issues that are important to Black folks. So nice. I like that.
Think about it like this: Alton, Jeanette, Albert, Mona, Ken. Individually, we are, in our own right, we're able to do things. But together, everybody just sprinkling something into the pot,
Yeah.
we would be almost unstoppable with some of the things that we could do based upon the skill sets that we all bring to the table.
Hmm.
And that's what the partnership would be about. Understanding what strengths Jeanette brings, understanding what Alton brings. And you go down the line and you begin to blend those in so that when the outsiders start pressing you and they start trying to change your mind about how you want to say what you want to say,
Right.
then the five of us have the strength. In other words, we might need to put Ken in front to take the hit on that. Sometimes
Right.
I might need to take the hit on that. I might
Right.
need to be the point person, or you might need to, that's the way partnerships work. And that's the kind of thing that I'm saying. Other people call it things like community and they call it grouping and all that, but it still works out to be we all go further when we all work together as opposed to individually. And if Tyler Perry and the weather guy and all these other guys are fighting over BET, then you will not see the energy that will be needed to transmit that kind of information and make it a successful BET.
Absolutely.
You know,
Wow. Absolutely. Well said. Any last thoughts on that, Alton? Because I am buying into that, and I got to get them on the phone right now and tell them, y'all stop fighting. Let's go for it.
I'm serious, Jeanette. You ought to do that.
I'm telling you, there has to be a way. I don't see it right now in the conversation, except as you just described, through a powerful medium such as television.
Yeah.
And if it gets us all on the same page, that's just part of the impact that it could have. But once it starts telling the stories, I mean, you've got the entire US of A and beyond that starts telling stories the way we want the stories told. And I think that's what builds on the longer term wealth rather than the immediate income equality that we talked about earlier.
Right.
You just hit the nail on the head, Albert. That's why I like you.
Okay.
And
Even
that
though
said,
That
any
said.
last words, you guys? Any last words? We got about no minutes left. Anything? You tried to say something, Alton.
No, I'm good.
You
Okay, so
good?
let me say this.
All right.
I heard Dr. Umar Johnson the other day,
Yes.
and he had a quote that I've been saying, I've been rolling around in my head, and he said, "The people at the border are the replacements for black people in America."
Oh yeah.
And we cannot, as black people, take that saying for granted.
Yeah.
The
That.
fact that we've been here for 400 years, the fact that we can document all the work we have done, we have still got to be on guard that the rules will change to benefit the guys who create the rules.
Yeah.
And next thing we know, we'll be at the bottom again.
Okay. So we talked about leveling up the pay today as one of the issues that Black folks need to talk about. I'm hearing you kind of queue up on immigration and what's going on and what that means. We kind of talked about that in our text messaging. I'd like to talk about that more. But in the meantime, to the listening audience, stay tuned. There's a lot to discuss. We're going to try to get very clear on a lot of the issues that we need to be considering. Stop paying attention to the being distracted by the personalities. Let's get into the issues. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.